Hey there, everybody. Welcome. We are here for the Moon Manifesting Mentoring live chat for the Gemini Full Moon. That is actually happening tomorrow, which is Monday, November 27th. This is being recorded on November 26th, 2023. So join on in if you're jumping on live or on the replay and just say hi or let me know where it is that you are watching from. And, the weather's shifting a little bit or maybe has already shifted where you are. So let me know what your weather's like. Here in LA, it's sunny outside. And it says it's about 67 degrees, but it's one of those days where it feels much warmer outside than it does inside. So like it's cooled off enough that the warmth doesn't quite make it inside. And it also doesn't feel quite, it's not quite time for the heater yet. So it's kind of definitely this transition phase that we're going through. Oops, I forgot to make sure I can see comments from the Facebook group on my phone. So I will do that as we get going. And if you have any questions about the Gemini full moon or working with the moon at all, let me know in the comments, whether you're watching live or on the replay, because even on the replay, participate, comment, share questions, and I will come back around and answer them or give you the information, etc., that you are looking for. Here we go. All right, make sure I can see comments. Why isn't it showing up yet? Well, I will, hope I can see them as we go along. There we go. So normally it shows up fairly quickly, but not today. Not today, huh? So, and I'll be talking about working with the Gemini full moon, some themes, some activities that you can either try or incorporate with your work, in your work with the full moon. And it is just apparently one of those days where, and I can see, I get this little pop-up that my internet might be a little glitchy. I do have a repairman or a service call scheduled for this upcoming week. So we're just hoping we can hang in there. And we'll just try it. It is still not there. Interesting. Well, we're going to keep on going because we don't have time to wait for it. So I'm just going to assume that if this isn't coming across perfectly clear on the live, the replay will make up for that. That's what is part of the beauty of replay. So like I said, the Gemini full moon is tomorrow, which is Monday, November 27th. And so this is the halfway point of the new moon lunar cycle that started about 2 weeks ago with the new moon in Scorpio. So that is the overall umbrella, the overall energy and feeling of this lunar cycle is that Scorpio new moon. And Scorpio is all about transformation. The Scorpio new moon is also, I talked about this on the new moon live, so you can go back and watch that for more detail if you didn't catch that or want to get some additional information about this lunar cycle. But it's definitely the Scorpio transformation energy is also associated or connected with the Phoenix energy, where you're burning down the old and making room, and then the birth of the new from those experiences or from those ashes, if you will. So it's that transformative, getting at the secrets, identifying what does need to be burned or shed off, so that you're not carrying it in this new transformation, in this new iteration, the next version of you that is emerging. And this is still very much carried in this time of year. It's the same type of energy of what isn't helping us, what is not part of the version of us that we would like to show up in 2024, that we want to leave behind in 2023. And it's not bad or anything to be judgmental of or critical of. It's just simply that awareness. What do I not want to carry forward into 2024 that I've become aware of, or that has presented itself, or patterns that I see and that have been repeating? And what is the lesson? If these patterns are repeating from my habits and my actions, what is the lesson from this that I can then learn and carry forward and move on and continue learning from that lesson into 2024? So a little bit about Gemini. It is the sign of the twins. It is an air sign. And so the element of air has to do with our thoughts, with our beliefs, with communication. So Gemini in general is a very, the zodiac, the associations, the traits, if you will, of Gemini. Gemini is very social, talkative, and curious in nature. And so those energies are available for you to work with and access at this Gemini full moon. And so with the element of air, you can work with different components of that. So if you want to incorporate in your activities, some of the activities I will be sharing in just a little bit that might be good for you to work with in this Gemini energy. So thoughts or air can be represented by smoke. You can incorporate use of a feather, bells, the sound, things that because air carries the sound. So those are things that you can incorporate or work with and maybe try some of the activities with that I will be sharing with you. But first, I want to talk about ways of working with this full moon energy excuse me, I don't know, like I've been talking a lot, I guess. So I have like a dry throat, not a sore throat, just like, where was I? So working with this Gemini energy and things to become aware of, right? With this full moon, if you're new to the lunar cycle, the full moon is both a time for releasing and forgiveness, which energetically creates space. It cleans out space, and then manifesting and calling in with gratitude and, continued setting of intentions, taking actions, etc. So filling that space, that energetic space that is cleared out with something positive, so it's not a vacuum and it doesn't as easily let those things that we're releasing filter back in or fill back into that space. So with some things to keep in mind, that's where I would say I knew it'd come back to me. Speaking of thoughts and air. So the reason that I have these calls, these new moon and full moon live chats or calls, whatever you want to call them, is to help you develop a relationship with working with the moon, with working with the lunar cycle, following the framework, personalizing it for you, getting what you need at any given time, depending on what season you're in, what is happening in your life, what you want to have happen in your life, changes you want to make, but creating this framework or this space to help you create a relationship and develop a relationship with working with the moon, because by doing that, by working with the moon and the lunar cycle and the framework and the energies, you are by default creating and nurturing a relationship with yourself. And that might sound a little strange, but the moon represents our emotions, our internal self, how we nurture, how we like to be nurtured, how we react and respond to things, right? So emotionally. So that is how, by working with the lunar cycle and the energies available, we're also at the same time creating and developing and nurturing a relationship with ourselves. And that is actually also the foundation of positive, beneficial, healthy, relationships with others. Because if we have a positive, healthy, beneficial relationship with ourselves, that is what we put out, and also how we interact in other relationships and what we attract to us as well. So with, let's see, let me get going with the themes maybe to keep in mind. And with this Gemini full moon, which is an air element sign. So notice where you either have been or where you tend to get stuck in your head, like the thoughts that keep repeating, the cycle of thoughts. Are they helpful? Are they thoughts that are helping you, that are moving you forward, that make you feel good? Or are they those, negative Nancy, those limiting beliefs, lack mentality? Notice the thought patterns that cycle through your head, probably on default and autopilot. You don't have to really fuel them because they have probably become so normal and routine, and who knows how long, maybe from childhood or for several years or whatever. They've just kind of been there operating on autopilot, but that is what's guiding. That's like our navigation that's guiding us, even though we're not aware of it. So notice the thoughts that you're having. Notice what tends to repeat, like when you want to do something or when you have an idea. What is then that next thought, like, a moment or two later, or maybe even the next day, that tries to talk you out of it, or that says it's not possible, or why it's not possible, or that deflates that excitement and that initial inspiration that you had? What are those thoughts that are running in your head that are keeping you stuck? And when you notice those, it's also a great time to assess, where can you better listen to your intuition? That's much, much quieter than those negative thoughts, which, that's why we have to listen to it. We have to do the work to develop and nurture that intuition, which is what, of course, I just said. Also, it comes from developing and having and nurturing a relationship with the moon and hence ourselves. So where can you better listen to your intuition instead of those negative Nancy thoughts or those limiting beliefs, those fears, those doubts, the statements or the thoughts that tell you you can't do something and why? Those, as you notice those thoughts, you will also focus and start to realize, or focus on and start to realize, the stories that are on repeat and that we tell ourselves every day. And we can also then identify whether they're helping us or not. And by stories, sometimes that concept trips something up. But for example, a very simple one, if, let's see, going back to maybe a type of story that has been long-standing, in our thought process and our beliefs. Maybe as a kid, something happened where you tried something new, or you got up, to do whatever, be in a play, do a presentation as a kid in grade school-ish. And maybe you made a mistake, or maybe it didn't go right, or maybe someone snickered. And then because of that, the story was created that doing new things is scary, or that doing new things is not for you, or that doing new things makes you look silly, or however it is that story developed. So that has, if you can identify that story, then you can also on purpose and intentionally rewrite the story, recreate the narrative, because the circumstance, the event that created that story, the event that story developed from, that's not going to change. And the event itself is neutral. The event itself is neutral because people with different thought processes, people with different perspectives will see the same event in many different ways, right? And the event doesn't change, but it's how people, including ourselves, perceive that. and what story we then create for ourselves from that event. So identifying that story and the event that it comes from, you can then choose to rewrite it. You can explore different perspectives. You can choose to see it differently so that you can then move forward with a new perspective, a new story that you will be creating moving forward that is not hindered. It's not held back anymore by that original story that's been on autopilot for so long, for so long. So identifying the stories and the beliefs and seeing which ones are not beneficial. Because keeping with this theme of stories, which is how we also communicate by telling stories and listening to stories and learning from stories, is we are the authors of our own lives, which is a story. Our life is our story, right? So we are the authors of it. And so if you're not liking the story as it has been to date, well, you can rewrite it. And you can change the direction. You can change the narrative. You can change the outcomes. And that will then lead you to start taking action differently, to identify new goals, desires, or how you can achieve ones that you currently have or that you've put on the back burner. So you can rewrite your story at any given moment and start to rewrite it and have different outcomes. And with this Gemini full moon, this provides, with this energy, a really great opportunity to break those thought patterns and outdated beliefs as you become aware of them, because that's that release component, that release energy that we have at the full moon, and then through continuing on through the waning half of the lunar cycle. And what that means is the waning half is from the full moon back around to the next new moon as the moon is getting smaller in size. Right now it's its biggest, or tomorrow on Monday will be its biggest and fullest and brightest. And then in the next 2 weeks, it continues to wane or get smaller from the full moon to the quarter moon to the crescent moon back down to the new moon, where it's dark and you don't see the moon in the sky. And this cycle repeats over and over and over. And every new moon, it moves into the next zodiac sign in the zodiac calendar. So that's the beauty of this, of working with this practice and with the lunar cycle, because it repeats and you can jump in at any time. And if something didn't work right this lunar cycle, you can redo it. You can retry. You can try a new way. You can set a different intention. Whatever the case is, you can recommit to the same intention and kind of amplify the results that you've been receiving if you are liking the results, or it's going in a direction that you like. Good one. Let's see. So it provides this opportunity to how did I say? Break those old thought patterns and beliefs. And then this is also, with that release component, a great time to let go of what you don't want to carry into the new year, into 2024. The habits, again, those thought patterns, the actions, or the inaction. That is actually one that I wrote down for myself. The inaction, like me not taking the actions that I know I need to, or that come up for me, and actually leaving that behind so that I do just step into taking action, because that's what the version of me who has achieved all the things that I want does. She takes action instead of putting it off or allowing the opportunity to pass by. So these are themes and concepts to keep in mind with this new moon, full moon. I'm sorry. And I want to touch on a little bit what I said a little while ago about how the forgiveness and the release and the clearing out of this energy creates space to then call in practices, like actual practices and activities that you can do, that I recommend at every full moon is writing out a forgiveness list. And this can be as in depth or go as far back as you need or as you kind of see fit or what comes up for you. And the forgiveness list, if you're not familiar with the practice, like the working with forgiveness, forgiveness is always for your benefit, for the person doing the forgiveness, not for the benefit of the person you're forgiving or the experience, the circumstances. And this can also include forgiveness of yourself for, like in my instance, like I just said, for the inaction, not taking action, instead of judging myself for it and criticizing and beating myself up. It's like, okay, acknowledging it, taking responsibility and saying, okay, in the past or up until now, I have not taken action in this area of my life. So I'm going to forgive that, let that go, and create space and the capacity for me then to step into that version of myself that does take action consistently and is aware when the opportunities come up and present themselves, right? So forgiveness, and I liked the practice, the very basic practice of writing out a list on a loose sheet of paper or, a napkin, a sturdy napkin or something on a loose sheet of paper, and then reading through your forgiveness, witnessing and allowing the feelings that come up as you read through that forgiveness list, like whatever it is that you need to forgive, will likely bring up some emotion, and it can be on various levels. So if that brings up sadness or frustration, just allow yourself to feel it. It's as long as when you do, I wish I remembered the time. It says in like 17. No, is that right? Somewhere let's say less than a minute, or let's say even a minute, which I think feels long. But if you just allow yourself to feel the sensations, like the energetic vibrations and sensations of whatever feelings come up, they will dissipate. They're not going to stay there. They're not going to linger. But what keeps them there is when we start to notice them and feeling, we like shut them down or divert our attention instead of just letting that actual energy and emotion process through, work its way through, and that it will dissipate. Now, that's not to say it's gone forever, because depending on the level of how long this has been an issue or how long you've been avoiding the forgiveness or not doing it, maybe avoiding is not a great word. It's not a great choice, because a lot of times we're not aware that forgiveness is an actual practice, and we're aware of the concept of forgiveness. I think, at least speaking from my experience, I was aware of the concept, but how to actually do it and the actual practice of doing a forgiveness activity or a forgiveness practice on a regular basis, on purpose, it was just something I was not aware of. So allowing yourself to feel those emotions, and you can even write down on your list what it is that you're experiencing when you read either to yourself or out loud your list, your forgiveness list. And that also helps to process and get out. It's like the energy of the feeling of the emotions kind of going through yourself into your pen or pencil and on to the paper. So it's a way to also allow that to move through. So doing this, writing that forgiveness list, allowing yourself to feel whatever comes up as you read back through it, and letting that come out in whatever way. And then I personally like to burn the forgiveness list, because I like the visual of the paper, burning up and transforming into ashes, and then the smoke that comes up. And I like to see that as a representation, as a visualization of it being carried off, right? All the stuff that I got out on that paper being carried out into the universe, the ethers, whatever, and just being carried away. And smoke also is is a representation of that air energy, right? Smoke is a representation of air. And so that also ties in well with the Gemini full moon, with that air element energy. So that's how I like to do that. If that's something that doesn't resonate with you, or that burning it is not available to you, for whatever reason, that smoke bothers you or you don't feel safe in doing so, you can also rip up the piece of paper. You can shred it. If you like that idea or the concept of releasing it and letting it transmute into something else, you can bury the pieces of paper either in soil in a potted plant or in your yard or somewhere you have available outside. And as it breaks down and decomposes, it is being transmuted and turned into something beneficial, into the soil and nutrients, and just like being recycled. And your energy that you put into that is also being released into the dirt, into the earth. In whichever format, in a potted plant or in a pot, or actually in the ground, works just as good. Okay, I'm going to keep this a little short because I keep seeing the little symbol that my internet it's a little sketchy, it's a little unstable, I think is the word that they use. So I'm going to go into some practices really quickly that you can incorporate with your full moon work. And also, before I do that, when you do the forgiveness, I always also include gratitude. So like the 3, if you think of the trifecta of the full moon that I like, it is that forgiveness, release, and then gratitude. Those are the 3, because you write out, or you forgiveness and then release all that, whatever comes up for you in whatever manner that you do release it, and then fill it in with gratitude. And gratitude can be a list. You can also write a list of the things that you're grateful for, and you can include different aspects of gratitude. You can include gratitude for the practice of forgiveness, the benefits of practicing forgiveness. You can express gratitude for the lessons that you've learned, or that you're aware that you will be learning and becoming aware of from those experiences, from those people, from yourself that you forgave in your list. You can express gratitude for the benefits coming, right? The opportunities, the results of the forgiveness, and the manifestations, the realization of your dreams and desires coming in the future. Practicing gratitude ahead of time also helps make them more real, helps solidify them. Because if you're saying, oh, I'm so grateful, or I'm thankful for this happening, it's like it tells your brain you are damn sure positive that it's going to happen. So you're practicing gratitude in advance helps make it more real and solid in your brain and to yourself. So those are the 3 that I do every time, in different manners and different versions, but those 3 components in some shape or form, some way, shape or form, at the full moon. So activities that are associated or kind of that can tie into this Gemini air full moon energy: practicing or trying breath work. And there are so many levels of breath work, from very simple cyclical breath work patterns to really intense and deep, where you actually feel like lightheaded. And it's also a very energizing practice, depending on how you do it. If you're not familiar or you haven't tried it, I recommend, you can look things up on YouTube. There are some apps that have breathwork components as well. Like I have I guess I have a subscription, or I belong to like a virtual Pilates membership where that is their primary. It's but it also includes recipes and recipes various types of like the Pilates exercises, workout routines, and also breathwork activities. So if you have apps, I like the Calm app. I'm not sure if that one has some breathwork components, or just look up, search YouTube, search Google for different ways. If you're interested, I don't have like an affiliate with that. It's called the Lindywell, and it's a Pilates, Pilates exercise membership. Just let me know in the comments, and I can message you the information on it. And that's just because I happen to be in that membership and I use it and I do it. But it's not an affiliate or what's the other word? Ambassador thing at all. It's just something that I'm in. I use. So I know that it's in there. So breath work, because that is, again, directly connected with the air element. You can practice saying or writing positive affirmations or empowerment statements. This ties into the communication, how we communicate with ourselves, the type of communication that we have with ourselves, and saying these affirmations or creating them for yourself and saying them, or finding affirmations that resonate with you, and then you saying them, you will notice whether you believe them or not, or you will notice whether it feels possible, or if you notice any resistance to saying those affirmations, because of that non-belief factor maybe. And that's where you can start to say, oh, this doesn't resonate with me. This doesn't feel believable. This doesn't feel achievable. I feel like I'm, fighting against this affirmation. That is a great indicator that there's a story there. And so get curious about the story and see if you can identify what the story is. So practicing affirmations and empowerment statements, learning something new or reading a new book. And Audible absolutely counts as far as I'm concerned. I listen to Audible quite frequently. So because Gemini likes to learn things, it likes to, to gather information. It likes to understand things. So learning something new is a great thing that you can incorporate with this Gemini energy. Sharing ideas with your friends or with the community, like in the group, in the Moon Manifesting Rockstars Facebook group, in the comments, because this is you're able to find this on YouTube and in my Facebook group. So sharing ideas. What ideas do you have about your intentions? What ideas do you have about things that you want to try? About things that you want to learn about? Because that creates connection and also helps you get in the practice of communicating your ideas, your thoughts, your desires, also sharing ideas that you have with your friends and family, a community that you're part of, any number of ways. And this one, I have to work. I see myself getting better at it, but it is something definitely that this is a good reminder for coming up is practicing active listening. And what that means is when you're in a conversation with someone, or you're on the phone or in person or whatever, instead of thinking about what your response is going to be, or instead of, your focus being on, but like wanting to interrupt or waiting to get your, the moment to chime in, allowing yourself, getting into the habit and the practice of just listening to what they have to say, then kind of processing it or saying, or letting it sink in for a second or two and then responding. And even if you don't need to let it sink in, just that practice of letting the person say what it is they have to say until they're done, and then saying your reply or putting your 2 cents in or whatever that is, but paying attention and being there. Because when we're thinking what we want to say back, or when we're focused on when are they going to stop that I can jump in, we're not really hearing and listening to what they have to say. We're partially hearing, and we're hearing to respond instead of hearing to actually hear what they have to say. And then lastly, and this is my favorite one, I will be doing this. It is scripting, writing a script of the new life story that you want to be the author of, the new set of circumstances that you want to be experiencing in 2024 and beyond, and scripting the version of yourself that you want to show up as. So focusing on the traits, the habits, the thought patterns that you want to nurture and develop and have become normal for you, scripting that out in the present tense. Like, I am someone who takes action. Speaking for myself, I am someone who takes action instead of waiting. I am someone who starts and does things before I feel ready, or before I feel it's the right time, or before I feel like I've learned enough, right? These are all things for me that will be included in my script for myself into 2024. So writing a script of what you want to be experiencing and who you are showing up as you move forward is great, because you can write as much detail as you want, or as that comes to you. You can add to it and kind of refine it, or focus on different aspects of it, as you work through the rest of this lunar cycle and beyond. And if that resonates with you, or if that is something that you want to try, but you don't really know, it's like, how would I do that? What would I include in my script? I have I call it a Manifesting Me journal. It is a digital journal. So you could either download it, or you could just simply look at the prompts and write about them in your own journal. And you can continue doing this over and over and over as you continue up-leveling and becoming that next version of yourself. And so I'm going to put, let's see, the link, you can get it. It's got 8 prompts. So it's 8 prompts, and it helps you focus on, and it helps you look at different aspects of yourself that you want to embody and copy. There we go. And so, like I said, as you continue to grow and as you continue to develop new goals and desires, we need to continually become the person who has and is living those desires. So this is something that you could do on repeat over and over for the rest of your days. And so like I said, it's 8 prompts long, and it is something that, I love, because I was doing this in my journal all the time now. So I just created a set of 8 prompts that you can do one at a time. You can pick the one that resonates with you, and StreamYard will let me post the link here for YouTube. But for Facebook, I'm going to have to go into the group, because it will not show up on the comments from StreamYard here. Here. Okay, so I believe that is, there we go. And so for Facebook, I'm going to have to go into the group itself, and find this little video, if it ever did show up. Let's see. And if you have questions, and again, if you're watching on the replay, feel free to share your questions. Oh my goodness. I don't think it showed up. Did it go on my page? Maybe I'm recording this. Wouldn't that just be an intro? No, it's not going to be there, because it's not on my page. Moon, it says I'm live. Okay, I'm just going to take its word for it. I'm going to go back into the Facebook group and put the link in the comments so that you can check out the journal if that is something that interests you and that you would like to try to script this version of yourself into being. And if you have any other questions as you do your full moon work, let me know. You can share your experiences, share what you do either in the group or in the comments on the YouTube video, because that's how we also create community. We learn and experience and witness other people's experiences and find, maybe we're inspired by things that you want to try or that really resonate with you that you learn from, because someone shared it. So I encourage you to share and ask questions and just try new things, especially now with this Gemini full moon that we have tomorrow. Trying new things, new experiences is a great way to tap into that energy and continue developing and nurturing this relationship with the moon and with yourself. So thank you guys, and happy full moon coming up. I will talk to you soon. Take care.